Hello, my name is Joshua, and today I will be making a railgun using a board so that it is portable. You will need a variety of magnets. I've got about 200 of these small ones, and then I also had some random large ones laying around. We will be able to use both of these in our railgun. I also have the workhorse, which is a battery. In this case, it's 12 volts, which is plenty, but what you really need is amps, and this has 230 cold crank amps, which should be fairly eventful. For the actual rails of the railgun, we will be using folded aluminum foil, which I will detail later. You will also need something to insulate the rails. This will provide a flat surface for our aluminum foil to go on, and will also provide a smooth surface for our projectile to roll across as it speeds up. For the projectile, you'll want something that is conductive but not magnetic. So copper or aluminum pipe works the best, but anything else really that isn't steel should work fine. On top of that, I also have some jumper cables to connect my battery with the rails, but other than that, let's go ahead and get started. First, we are going to put a bunch of magnets on this board. What we need them to be is we need them to be in a strip about as wide as our projectile is. So for me, I'm probably going to go about 7 of these magnets across, and then I'll just go as long as I can. Alright, well I spent a fair amount of time doing this, and something that I found, and this is probably the most important thing if you're using multiple magnets, is the orientation of the magnets. You need all of them to be facing the same side up, and then this obviously the same side down. And the way you do that is you make sure that all of the magnets, when you set them side by side on the table, they should want to repel each other. That means both north sides are facing up and both south sides are facing down, which means they're going to repel each other. And I put them on a piece of stainless steel, and the reason I did that is so that I didn't have to tape each individual one down. That would have been a lot of work and used a lot of tape. But you guys can use tape or really anything else, as long as you make sure that your magnets repel each other when put on a flat surface. If you push them together, they need to push each other apart. That's how you know that the orientation is correct. At this point, you're going to go ahead and take this end and you're going to fold it up. Basically, all you're making here is somewhere to clip the jumper cables onto. It is important that your tracks stay relatively flat, so try not to let this edge bevel up. If it lifts just a little bit over like the whole thing, that's okay, because it will just get squished down when it goes over it. And after that, you are done. So what we're going to do now is stack everything together. Well, here we have our complete railgun, all 4 layers. You've got your base, your magnets, your insulator, and then finally your rails. You're going to want to make sure that the gap in your rails goes right down the center of your magnet strip, which is about right like that. And now we're going to go ahead and hook everything up and try it out. I have my battery hooked up to my jumper cables, and I have my projectile on the track. In order for me to get this to actually make it move, I have to blow it a little bit at first so that it doesn't just weld to the aluminum, so that it'll actually continue to roll. I'm going to blow on it a little bit, and then I'll hook the positive on just as soon as I see it move. And there you have it. That is the railgun working. Now, in order to go faster, there are 2 things you can do. Stronger magnets, or you can put it closer to the magnets. And then for the projectile, you can make sure that it gets as much contact patch with the aluminum as possible so that more amperage will go through it and create a stronger magnetic field. I'm going to optimize this in a number of ways. I've decided upon 2 ways to make this faster. I was going to initially just shrink this so that my everything was closer to the magnets, but I couldn't find anything thinner than this. I was thinking maybe plexiglass, but it turns out I did not have any of that on hand. So what I'll do instead is I'll add more magnets. I'm out of these little ones, but what I can do is move some of these down to here, right up to the edge, and then I can add in my two big magnets, just right like this, and making sure that they repel these magnets so that they will be working in the right orientation. In order to increase contact and the amount of amps that can go through my projectile, I will also be making some new rails. And I will make them, and I will intentionally curve them a little bit, the aluminum, as I'm putting it down. That way, as the projectile goes over it, it has to squish it and will come into contact with more aluminum. Let's go ahead and enact these improvements. All right, well, I got everything adjusted the way I want it. You can see I had to put on some spacers, and it looks a little bit haphazard, but all of the polarities of the magnets are correct. And like I said, these two don't want to be there, so it took some finagling to get them to sit there like that. But it should be norths all the way down to the end. That's 26 inches from here to there, which is actually a pretty decent, and I'm really hoping for some good results. I have counterbent my aluminum foil rails to maximize the contact patch. I've also increased the amount and the size of my magnets, and I was not able to get them any closer to the magnets. Again, I checked just in case. I thought of one more place my plexiglass might be, and it was not there. So now we will just go ahead and give it a try. Well, all things considered, I consider this a definite plus. I definitely think it's going a little faster. I'm not sure exactly how much though. I can go look at the frames and figure out exactly. All right, well, all things considered, this build was a lot of fun. The current bottleneck in the system, keeping us from hitting higher speeds and more force, is the fact that we can't get enough amperage from the rails to our projectile and then back to the negative rail. So the solution to this would be to increase the contact surface between these three, and I would have to think about how exactly I would do that. I would highly suggest that you guys try something like this at home. Aluminum foil and just 3 or 4 refrigerator magnets with a 9-volt battery can totally work. And I think it'd be a great afternoon project and educational at least. Well, I appreciate you guys taking some time to watch, and I hope to see you next time.